Welcome to the Friday Focus. My name is Jake Cunningham, and welcome to another round. It's so great to have you on with us this week. This week, we're going to be discovering some secrets and tips of setting up a successful practice room. This came up out of a wonderful call I had with a practitioner this week. I asked the question, so do you mind sharing with me how you have set up your office? Where are you sitting in relationship to your client? And this really spurred this need, I think, for many of us, maybe not all of you. And for those of you who know this stuff already and you've got your office feng shuied out to the max, this is maybe just a review. It's maybe a little spark to remind yourself that your environment is so critical for the process of healing. And you want to make sure that not only for the individual sitting across from you or the animal or the client or patient, but for your enjoyment as a stress reduction specialist and professional, you want to make sure that the environment is optimal for you to enjoy. You need to manage and check your stress at the door too, and make sure this place is a space of healing. And that's going to be the focus today. But today's focus, we're going to be going through the special tips and tricks and suggestions based on some basic feng shui principles that many of you may be experts in. Your successful biofeedback office. This is just a template for more detail and for maybe a thorough course in this. But this is just to open up the discussion about some key principles here that are going to help enable you to optimize your environment and be a good reminder for you here. So as you can see, here are the talking points we're going to be going over. And then we're going to be following up with a live picture display of my father's office. For those of you who haven't visited the White Dove Clinic outside of Boulder, Colorado, you'll be able to see the inside workings of that. So first, what we're going to do is introduce myself. Here's an introduction of why you may want to listen to me. I don't need to sell myself. I'm not here marketing myself at all. I just want to remind people who are new to who I am and what I bring to the table is I've been working for over 15 years with practitioners like yourself, helping implement this technology into a practice. I also have a deeper background with this niche by working with the developer since age 12 with my father, being an apprentice for 3.5 years when Bill Nelson, Desiree, was in Denver, Colorado. I got to go and see some of the first versions of this technology be brought forth to the marketplace. Went to school in beautiful Santa Barbara, started working for Quantum Life. They've shifted gears and have some other great products. They were selling these systems. Karen Williams is the ex-wife of Desiree. And that history then evolved, worked with the Quantum Alliance. That's how I know many of you, and kind of climbed that corporate ladder, helping support practitioners and our area coordinators, regional directors, and do my best to shine and be a beacon of light of answers and support for the network. And I've worked with hundreds of practitioners one-on-one, giving them tips and tricks on how to market and set up successful practices. So that's a foundation for me. So for those of you who don't know me, and you can learn more by going to whitedoveglobal.com, my website that will support you. So let's get started, everyone. Clear and declutter and organize your office. This is important, of course, because as you know, and I'm no living testimony. If any of you saw my office, you'd be in shock. But I'm not a practitioner. I support you all, and I think we've all been there. But a clutter-free and organized office allows room for new, refreshing energy and ideas to flow. If your goal in your office is to help reprogram and reduce stress, make that a place that is very clear, that bringing out that goal, that focus of stress reduction is surrounding them. All these steps, and the goal of this is to refresh your memory, maybe clean up, organize your space a little bit. And of course, where you position yourself in relationship to the individual, we're going to get to next. But this is a fundamental step that you want to do on a normal basis. Now, okay, thanks, Jake. We know this already. What are some useful tips to make this happen? If you ever saw, I should have had a picture of Einstein's desk, right? Einstein's desk was a nightmare. I mean, so it doesn't mean that you're not a genius by having a clean office. What it means is that you have room for that energy to be focused on what the goal is there, that individual, and there's no distraction, of course, because again, a lot of our stresses in our lives that they're dealing with in your session are distractions, right? So maintaining an organized office and desk will definitely help you in many ways. It will increase effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity. It will enhance creativity and the ability for your clients to see and imagine and grow and transform into that next chapter of that journey they're on. It will attract abundance. It help improve mental clarity and focus, reduce stress and help you feel more relaxed and peaceful, and give space for new projects and in creative endeavors to flourish. When you're doing your research or you're even learning, say you're watching the Friday Focus, when you have that clarity in that environment, it's going to help you retain information better. So create an organization system that works for you. You need to establish a personal work style so that you can maintain a clutter-free, organized office. Keep everything that you use daily within arm's reach. You shouldn't have to get up from your desk to perform your daily tasks. You should also deal with paperwork, bills, things of that nature separately or outside of that session during that time. We all have them. We all have to deal with them, but maybe have a file, something if you have one desk and office space, maybe have a manila folder or a bin, or like me, a garbage bag full of documents and paper I need to filter, and handle it. Pick a day, Friday afternoon, maybe before or after the focus call, on the weekend, whatever that may be, and handle it. It won't be nearly as overwhelming if you do this on a consistent basis. Again, reminder, I'm not trying to coach or preach. I'm just trying to remind us on how to optimize our space. Don't overcrowd your bookshelves. It'll leave you feeling overwhelmed and overextended. And if your space is cramped, you can be creative with opening it up with mirrors. That's something that I'm not an expert at, but many of you understand the mirrors. You don't want a mirror facing towards the door. It's reflecting energy back. A lot of these principles I found and I took and I give credit to on every page to fengshuiandbeyond.com. It's a cool little site. I recommend. It's in each one of these slides. Check it out. Get some great reminders for you, and you'll keep learning. I'm going to jump to this slide. Ensure your desk is in the right position. This is important for many reasons. But did you know that in feng shui, the person seated farthest from the entrance will have the most power? Very interesting. Now, this is also common sense. Many people, and when I met my wife, Lisa, she always loved to have her back facing like busy entrances in restaurants, and so did I. So we always had to compromise. In this role, you don't want to put your client in a vulnerable position. At the same time, there's a way to do it, and I'll show you in a couple different slides, to do it so that there's a harmonious triad and energy flow in the room. But you do want your back against the wall, or you don't want your back against the door and entrance. In the beginning of our talk this morning, what stirred this presentation was speaking with a wonderful practitioner down in the Caribbean islands, bragging about the amazing weather. But I hope everyone in Florida is safe and sound with Hermine hurricane coming through. For all the Floridians listening, we wish you the best and stay safe. But she actually is new to working with the Skio, and she was facing the wall, pretty much the opposite of what's recommended. Her back was to the door. The client was right next to her. And when I presented and just shared with her some of the concepts on some chicken scratch, it completely blew the potential and the feeling. Just thinking about it made a difference. And it makes a difference, of course, for your clients. And when your clients have a better experience, it translates to your bottom line. They're going to be more likely to rebook if they have an environment that works for them. Sitting in the power position is a key element in an office. The person seated farthest from the entrance will have the most power. It's not about power in a bad way, but when they're coming to see you, you want that influence to be. Power can be used for great and supportive coaching, as well as, of course, the dark. But we're talking about being in a position of supporting your people. That's a wonderful position to be in and set yourself up to success. If you sit too close to the door, you'll be distracted by daily petty details. Things may be going by, or someone may knock and just disturb you. If you sit with your back to the door, you'll suffer possibly office politics. If you're in a busy office, in your home office, there could be the dog brushing by, things of that nature. If you have to share your office with another, which many of you may do, try avoid sitting back to back. It's also best to avoid sitting face to face. Both positions tend to create conflict. If you can't avoid sitting face to face, either stagger the desks or create a small barrier with a plant, photo, or other object. Concentrate on the acoustical privacy as well, the sound. Because every one of our offices is unique, only you can be the judge of what acoustically is best. Acoustically, of course, being the sound. Use headphones to muffle phone conversations if you're doing it remote sessions, things of that nature. Also, when working with remote sessions, when you're not having a client in the room, having your back to the door can sometimes be as if someone's looking over your shoulder, and no one really appreciates that, do we? Also, when the client's sitting next to you, there's a unspoken and almost unconscious, but also conscious stress for them to see what's on the screen and learn what you're doing. That's more of a coaching and teaching position when you are studying with a mentor, learning the work, because you want to be in that same perspective, but not your client when they're receiving stress reduction. Of course, use plants and soften edges and corners. Sharp edges, which contribute to conditions such as irritability, discomfort, and even disease, to name a few, can be, stressful to walk into. If you have room, make the aisles large enough so that the energy moves slower and so on. So we'll continue on here. I want to show you an example of the desk layout. These are all correct. You can be squared, and I'll show you, of course, the client. Hopefully you can see my cursor. The client could be here, so they can still be connected with the door. In this room, the square, this is a good option. Here, you want to always have a view with the client, of course. And depending on if you have a third party, what I mean is that as a guest or a screen monitor that's acting as a third window or communicator will depend. And I'll show you my father's office, which demonstrates in my book a very successful model. And his is comparable to this setup right here, but the opposite. The door is over here, the desk is over here. Hope this helps you guys as a quick reminder. Using appropriate artwork and imagery. Infuse your office with your own personality. It will foster and support personal growth and success. So how can you do that? Again, taking the principle of not too much clutter, you can do that especially with positive affirmations, posters that you love, and that help motivate and inspire you. Something that isn't stated in this small text is your certifications, your accomplishments, Things that when you sit down with or without a client, you're proud and you're honored to be there representing what you do. And that all of you have amazing credentials. I've never worked with so many diverse skill sets of modalities than the people that share the common thread or tool as the biofeedback systems. But having that builds not only your presence and your support for yourself, your self-talk, reminding yourself, but wow, what powerful artwork that is, stating to the people that come in, and what a professional way to represent that they're in the right place, building credibility, building the trust factor. Some words of advice is when you surround yourself with images and objects that you love and that inspire you, you create a living affirmation for your goals. You can use your office as a template for what you want to create in your life and work. Physical objects in your office should reflect the transformation you desire. This is a little fluffy, but hey, it's true. More principles about this you've all studied with the laws of attraction and environmental psychology. This is things that are positive. You don't want to have, let's just say, if there's a loved one in the house that have cremation of their ashes and they brought pain in your life, this is a bad example, but you may not want that in your office. Or if you're in a home office, make this your sanctuary for which you would enjoy going, even if you didn't have to go do your taxes or work with a client who is, let's say, high maintenance, right? Make it enjoyable, make that space beautiful with the artwork around you. And again, I'll show the clinic and how my dad has some wonderful artwork, but it's his certifications, right? And they're laid out, organized and clean. So it's organized, it's not clutter, but it's showing that this is the place where I get to practice my art form. Every object in your office has an influence on you. Carl Jung called it numinosity. Make sure your office is having a positive and uplifting effect on you. Balancing and harmonizing your space. This gets into a little bit more of the feng shui. When you surround yourself with images, this again, when you surround yourself with the object shapes of the actual like furniture, sometimes we don't all have options, meaning we have a great chair. It was a it was a $800 chair. It does its great. Maybe it's a little ugly, but does the job. Something I want to just share is good enough. There's no such thing as perfect, because you can always upgrade. You can always do better with your equipment or your furniture. Like my mom always tells me, it's not that there's no such thing as perfect, it's that everything is perfect. Okay. So just another perspective on it. But you want to be conscious and aware that if there's too many sharp edges, complement it. Like there's an example here. On that desk, that triangle desk, there's a nice lamp that's circular with a circular mirror with the light coming from the side, meaning there's balance there. With even the desk itself has the complementary male female energy of the sharp and the round. Feng Shui elements represent the natural elements of wood, earth, metal, and fire. So you can take those elements and balance the energy and harmonize the space as well. It's important that all 5 elements are represented in your environment. Even more important is that the elements are in balance. An example, let's say that you work in a very bright office, the fire element, with an abundance of light colors, including metal, filing cabinets, computers, faxes, etc. The metal element sounds like my office. In this case, you'd want to focus on bringing in some other elements. You could bring in some plants for the wood element, some earthy colors for the earth, and an aquarium or a small fountain for the water element. Just some good examples for you. No rocket science there. Some basic feng shui principles. This ties into that as last step. Incorporate some stress relievers. So this is kind of fine-tuning the environment where you have There was another step in this article with color, and color speaks loud, and it talked about the neutral, soft toning, relaxing colors. That's something that you can do your own research on. The stress relievers that I want to talk about is things like music. If you do use music, have a, I recommend not tying it to your computer. I recommend not having a lot of electromagnetic devices in the office, of course, but I do recommend it being a subtle, separate little Bose stereo system, something that's on the side that you can hit play and stop, that's separate, because the less you do with your technology, this is kind of a tech support and best practices with your equipment. You don't want to be using your audio drivers and power for your computer when you're going to be focusing on that biofeedback session. And the volume that you adjust there may adjust the volume of the program. So you don't want to influence that and mix those, but music is a very phenomenal frequency approach. And many of you already probably incorporate it, but having music is I think one of the most effective, profound things other than the seat placement that you can do to create that environment of healing. When you're talking about some of the other elements, water fountains, sculptures, things like that, make sure you have enough space for those. And the spacing, like we talked about in the previous slide about balancing and harmonizing your space, you'll want to make sure it has its own, environment to not distract, but also not to obviously spill over on any of your equipment, thousands of dollars of biofeedback and other modalities. So make sure that it has its place there. But other stress relievers could be some of your other tools too. You could have a low-level laser light there that is on a table next to the chair that they can incorporate. That's easy, that's not distracting, but at the right time, they can use. Make your environment an oasis for which you and your clients enjoy being in. Now, when it comes to color, I'll add a little tidbit. What colors are appropriate for an ideal relaxing space? Well, that's soft yellows, sandstone, pale orange, pale green, and blue green are always appropriate for feng shui office colors, is in my notes. Adding white will increase clarity and mental focus. Browns and earth tones will ground and stabilize the office. However, they don't stimulate the mind. Read more about color psychology by Googling it, and there's tons of information out there on the different psychological colors. But again, to repeat, white will increase clarity, mental focus. Most of your offices are probably white with white walls, but blue, green, greens and golds and sandstone and oranges and yellows, those stimulate that warm, healing environment. And even the oranges and the yellows stimulate an appetizing. That's why most restaurants, fast food restaurants, everybody use yellow and reds. It's appetizing. I'm not going to name and market some of these, but just do your own research and you'll see. Next is, let's look at my father's office, because I'll show you how he set it up. And you can, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So here is a bird's eye view from the seat, the actual seat that my dad would sit in. And it's a little high, but as you can see, and his room's not that big. I'd say it's 12 by 13 or maybe, around there. I don't know the exact measurements. But what he has here, hopefully you can see my cursor, is he has his system. He has a printer over here, which we'll see in a little bit. He has room to make notes, take notes. He has his device here resting on his Bible. My dad, love it. He has a nice, comfortable chair. And then here's a monitor that creates this triad between accountable client competent practitioner and the technology feed over here, the window for which they play a role. And that harmony I'm speaking of, or that triad that I like to reflect to, or the trinity, you have this triad. And I like to call it the successful biofeedback trinity, which is a successful, accountable, and um, responsible client, a safe and effective and reliable tool or technology, and this can be your other systems too, and then a caring and educated, accountable practitioner that creates that harmony. So respect that in your office that way. So here he can actually communicate and speak clearly. The client doesn't feel like they're trying to sit next to them and read on a small screen. If they choose to look at pictures or the body viewer, they can, and they can relax. And a lot of times when I get sessions with my dad or other practitioners or myself, I go to sleep. And this creates, yes, the back is towards the door, but in this office, there's not too many other options for that. This heavy door is shut, so there's no traffic out there. You can see the waiting room. Also, my father has a nice chair for when a mom or a spouse or a guest is there. They can sit and enjoy, but not interfere with the energetic triad. Here, there's a Himalayan salt lamp, again, adding to the relaxing space, the harmonious space. He has a air filter and then some of his credentials on the wall. So that's one picture. Here's another that shows more of the information. He has his phone headset when he has to do remote calls. Of course, the system. He has just a laptop. He used to have a desktop. He has a backup source. So if the power goes out, his computer isn't shutting down and he can still operate. That's something that is more of a tech best practice. But if you can, a medical surge protector is great. But if you can get a backup power supply, you'll be protected. It's going to have your back. But you'll notice the screen. He doesn't have a large screen. If you have a screen that's too big, it can be a distraction. So something that just reflects what my father or you as a practitioner would like to share. Iridology program, the color therapy when running that, the body viewer, or if you want to show something particular in one of the other programs, you can drag it across and they can be a part of that session. Notice the artwork is, in this case, his remedies and his certificates and his different licenses and his different awards. These are wonderful. These help support, I'm sure, whether my dad admits it or not, he gets to go in and be reminded, hey, he's been a part of something for a long time and he's making a difference. And not everybody is achievement driven. My dad isn't, but this is a place to put these achievements, and it adds credibility and trust. When people come in, they get to see that my dad knows what he's doing. He's been doing it for a long time, and they'll say the same thing about you. And here is a more perspective from the client. Now, the farthest from the door, my father, he has his remedy selection up here. He has his, I think these are Dr. Bob Marshall's Premier Health, don't quote me on that, products. Has paperwork, more certifications. Again, the client has a nice little screen. I would recommend actually a little larger one, but it doesn't matter. It's your preference and your resources. He has a nice earth with oak desk. So there's a balance of wood and the carpet. That's an indigo blue. There's no judgment on it. It's just that's what it is. And he's done well with it, so it works. And a nice comfortable chair. There's a place for them to set their water if they need, and some more certificates on the wall there. So there's a nice art. I don't know what that picture is of, I forget, but there is something there that is not just look at me, look at all my certificates. There's something there that is a nice warming piece of art or painting. So I hope this helps everybody, give you an idea of how my father sets up the clinic. Very simple, very minimal technology. You don't want to have too much in there. His printer, by the way, I'll go back. I don't know if you saw his printer's right here. He has a little desktop printer so that he can print out reports and store in his files. Over here are some books organized, cleaned. And I, by the way, caught Patricia. I called yesterday. I said, shoot me some pictures. This is a picture from yesterday. So September 1st. And there was no sessions being run. And it's set up for success. It's set up so that if there's a important acute client that needs help, it's ready, it's clean. Patty or my father can work with somebody and leave it like this. There's some notes and pens and things in there, but it's not a big overburdening desk either. Not a lot of clutter under here. So with that said, everyone, I want to thank everyone for watching. I'm going to open it up to Q&A.